All right, so you're here with us today because you want to learn how to make your girlfriend feel more desired and really boost that connection, you know?
Yeah.
And we've got some really interesting source material for this deep dive.
You do?
Relationship advice straight from Podcast Heart and Mind.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it's packed with insights. We're not just going to skim the surface here.
No.
We're going to go deep.
Yeah.
Really unpack the why behind these tips.
Right.
So you really understand what makes them work.
It's all about getting a deeper understanding of, like, the psychology in a relationship.
Yeah.
Not just a list of quick fixes.
And one of the first things that Podcast Heart and Mind really emphasizes is the importance of communication, which, you hear a lot in relationship advice, right?
Right.
But they take it a step further.
They do. They talk about how it's not just about talking. It's about understanding.
Right.
It's about active listening, really making sure you're not just hearing the words, but you're understanding where your partner is coming from.
And they compare it to a dance.
Yes.
That if you don't know what steps your partner is about to take,
Right.
it's going to be pretty hard to
Right.
move in sync with them.
That's such a good analogy. It really is. And think about this. Even small issues, if they're not addressed, can create distance between you.
Yeah.
Just like a tiny pebble in your shoe that affects every step you take.
Oh, yeah.
Podcast Heart and Mind uses that analogy, and it really resonated with me because those little things can really build up over time.
Yeah, sometimes we avoid bringing up those little things because we don't want to rock the boat.
Right.
But what they're saying is that those unaddressed issues can actually become bigger obstacles to intimacy down the line.
Absolutely, because that's how resentment builds.
Right.
Right. So nipping those things in the bud early on through open and honest communication can really save you a lot of heartache later.
For sure. And speaking of building a strong foundation,
Yes.
Podcast Heart Mind
Yes.
talks about emotional connection as like the bedrock of a really fulfilling relationship.
Think of it this way. Physical attraction might be the flashy paint job that initially draws you in,
Yeah.
but emotional connection is the foundation that supports everything else.
So it's like building a house. You need that solid foundation
Exactly.
before you even think about decorating, right?
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. Podcast Heart and Mind digs into the science behind this.
Okay.
Explaining that those simple acts of non-sexual affection, like cuddling or holding hands, actually release bonding hormones in the brain.
So it's not just about feeling good. It's actually rewiring your brains for connection.
Yes, that's right. And, those bonding hormones play a huge role in increasing desire as well. So those seemingly small gestures are actually super powerful when it comes to building the connection you're looking for.
And it's not just about grand gestures either.
Right.
Podcast Heart and Mind also talks about the importance of being present and attuned to your partner, noticing those small cues and responding to them.
They compare it to a detective noticing subtle clues. That kind of attentiveness can make your partner feel truly seen and understood, which, let's be honest, is something we all crave.
And that feeling of being seen can lead to feeling cherished, desired, and ultimately more connected.
Yes, it's like a chain reaction.
Okay, so we've talked about communication and emotional connection, ready to get a little steamy.
Let's do it.
All right, because Podcast Heart and Mind also dives into physical intimacy.
They do, and they don't just talk about the act itself, they talk about the art of intimacy.
Yeah, they actually call it an art form. It's about setting the mood, being thoughtful, using touch in a way that creates connection and anticipation.
It's not just about what you do, but how you do it.
Yeah.
A lingering touch on the arm, for example, can speak volumes. It can build anticipation, create a sense of connection.
Oh, wow.
It's all about those subtle details that show you're really present and engaged.
So it sounds like we're talking about being more mindful and intentional with our touch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Podcast Heart and Mind emphasizes the importance of being playful and trying new things. It's about keeping that spark alive through exploration and shared discovery.
It's like anything else, right?
Right.
If you do the same thing over and over again, it gets stale.
It gets boring, yeah.
You need to introduce some novelty and excitement, keep things fresh and interesting.
Absolutely. And that leads us perfectly to our next point, which is all about surprise and spontaneity.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah. Podcast Heart and Mind tells this great anecdote about a spontaneous date night.
Yeah.
A simple gesture that created a lasting memory.
And our brains are wired to respond to novelty.
Yes.
So a spontaneous gesture can really jolt us out of routine and bring back those butterflies.
It does. Remember that feeling of excitement when you first started dating? That's the feeling they're talking about.
Yeah, those early days.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered Communication, emotional connection, physical intimacy, podcast Heart and Mind also stresses the importance of respect and appreciation in a relationship.
And they make it very clear that these aren't just nice to haves.
Right.
They're non-negotiables. Respecting your partner's boundaries is fundamental to building a strong foundation of trust.
Like building a house on a shaky foundation, it's just not going to last, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need that solid base of respect and trust before you can build anything meaningful.
Yeah.
And when you feel safe and respected, you're more likely to open up emotionally and be vulnerable, which is essential for true intimacy.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of expressing appreciation. Podcast Heart and Mind reminds us that words matter.
I do.
Tell her what you cherish about her, what you find attractive.
Yes.
It can make a huge difference in how she feels about herself and the relationship.
Those expressions of appreciation go a long way in building confidence and making someone feel desired. It's about acknowledging and valuing your partner for who they are.
And here's something Podcast Heart and Mind really emphasizes. Desire should be mutual.
Yes.
It's not just about making her feel wanted.
Yes.
It's not just about making her feel wanted.
Yeah.
You deserve to feel that spark too.
That's such an important point. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's about creating a dynamic where both partners feel seen, desired, and appreciated.
So it's about taking care of yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Being confident and allowing your attractive qualities to shine through.
Because when you feel good about yourself, it shows.
Yeah.
It radiates outwards and makes you a more attractive and engaging partner.
It all ties back into that cycle of mutual desire and connection, right?
Yes.
You take care of yourself, you feel good,
Yeah.
you bring that positive energy into the relationship.
That's a beautiful feedback loop.
I'm already seeing how all these pieces fit together. It's not just about isolating tips.
You're right.
It's about understanding the whole dance of a relationship.
And podcast Heart and Mind reminds us that it is a dance, not a sprint.
It's about enjoying the journey, the exploration, the ever-evolving connection.
And speaking of taking care of yourself,
Podcast Heart and Mind had some really insightful things to say about self-care too.
yeah, it's like they're saying you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Globally.
Yeah.
You've got to prioritize your own well-being if you want to show up in the relationship.
Exactly. And they highlight the mind-body connection, which is so important.
Yeah, it's true. When I'm stressed or feeling down, romance is the last thing on my mind.
And that makes total sense.
Yeah.
You know, podcast Heart and Mind actually reminds us that taking care of your physical and mental health can actually boost your libido.
Wait, so hitting the gym or meditating could actually, like, make me a better partner?
Well, it might not be quite that simple.
Yeah.
But the connection is definitely there when you're feeling energized and confident. It naturally spills over into your interactions with your partner.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about mastering these secret seduction techniques or anything.
Oh.
It's more about cultivating a healthy lifestyle that supports a thriving relationship.
That's a great way to put it. Podcast Heart and Mind really emphasizes that intimacy is an ongoing process, right? It requires effort, communication, and a willingness to grow together.
And it's not one size fits all either.
Oh, absolutely not.
What works for one couple might totally not work for another.
Every relationship is unique. That's why it's so important to be open and honest with each other about your needs and desires.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Right. It is. There will be ups and downs, challenges, and triumphs along the way.
For sure. And Podcast Heart and Mind even reminds us that it's okay to seek help if you're struggling.
Right?
There's no shame in talking to a therapist or counselor
Of course not.
if you need guidance and support.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny, we started this whole deep dive talking about making your girlfriend feel desired.
Right.
But I feel like I've learned so much more than that.
Yeah.
It's really about creating a healthy and fulfilling dynamic for both partners.
I think that's a great takeaway. It's not just about one person's needs. It's about nurturing a connection that benefits both individuals and strengthens the relationship as a whole.
So what does this all mean for our listener? What's
Yeah.
the most important thing they should take away from all of this?
I think podcast Heart and Mind makes it really clear that communication, emotional connection, respect, and a commitment to both personal and shared growth are the foundation of a truly intimate and fulfilling relationship.
It's like they're saying, don't just focus on the destination, enjoy the journey.
Exactly. And remember, relationships are constantly evolving.
Yeah.
What works today might need to be adjusted tomorrow. The key is to stay connected, communicate openly, and embrace the adventure together.
It's interesting. You know, we've spent all this time talking about making your girlfriend feel more desired.
Right.
But Podcast Heart and Mind kind of hints at something else too.
Yeah.
Something equally important.
Mm-hmm.
They touch upon the idea that it's not just about, focusing on your partner's needs,
Right.
but understanding your own as well.
Yes, definitely addressing your own needs.
Right, because if you're not feeling fulfilled and desired yourself,
Yeah.
how can you really show up for your partner and create that spark,
Yeah. Absolutely. That's where self-awareness comes in. Podcast Heart and Mind encourages us to really think about what makes us feel desired.
Oh, okay.
What makes us feel confident and attractive.
Because it's not just about making her feel good.
No.
It's about both of you feeling good together.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where both partners feel seen, appreciated, and desired. And to get there, a healthy dose of self-love and self-care is essential for both sides.
Wow. I hadn't thought about it that way before.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we've been given a whole new lens to look at this through.
It is. It's the beauty of these deep dives, isn't it?
Yeah.
We get to explore these ideas in a way that goes beyond the surface level advice.
Yeah, we've covered communication, emotional connection,
Mm-hmm.
physical intimacy, respect, appreciation.
Spontaneity, self-care, mutual desire.
It's like a whole toolkit for building a really strong and fulfilling relationship.
Then you know what I find so valuable is that Podcast Heart and Mind doesn't just throw out these random tips.
Yeah.
They ground their advice in, a real understanding of human psychology and relationship dynamics.
So I think for our listener out there who wants to make his girlfriend feel more desired, we've really unearthed some gems here, some
Yeah.
actionable insights that can help him create a more connected and intimate relationship.
And hopefully we've also inspired him to think about his own needs and desires in the process.
For sure, because ultimately it's all about creating a dynamic that works for both partners,
Mm-hmm.
a relationship where both people feel happy, fulfilled, and deeply connected.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about making her feel desired, but what makes you feel desired?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's something worth reflecting on, maybe even discussing with your partner.
It is, and on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does go forth and put these insights into action.
Yes, and remember, intimacy is a journey, not a destination. Keep exploring, keep communicating, and enjoy the adventure.